What is happening in the music industry? We're in a transitional period of instant accessibility where streaming is on the rise and physical CD sales are starting to decline. Is it really even ethical for our fans to be streaming our music when streaming royalties pay out less than a cent per stream? And how are we as independent artists supposed to compete when some of us barely even have a fan base? Well, don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to be diving into whether or not streaming services like Spotify are killing the new music industry. And I'll also be discussing why we as independent artists can use what's happening to our advantage. So let's blast off and get started.
You got that na 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 na, and I can't stop with these boys from California.
Konnichiwa, cyborgs. I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, helping you become a better songwriter. I make futuristic and outer space-inspired dance pop music, and every Wednesday on this channel, I'm helping others take their music to level 2. That sounds good? Consider subscribing. If not, then I'm sad, because this video has a lot of math in it, which made my brain hurt. So I think the least you could do is hit the subscribe button, okay? That's all I'm saying. Think about that. So before we get into this, let's get a few things out of the way. Everyone's individual royalty payout is gonna be different depending on a variety of factors. I personally write, sing, mix, produce all of my stuff, so my payout is gonna be a little bit larger than somebody who splits all their royalties with a bunch of other songwriters. Now, take bigger with a grain of salt because I live in a basement apartment that I can barely afford, so. Also, I do this because I don't live in LA. I don't have access to a lot of other producers and songwriters who specialize in my type of music. Now, I don't recommend you do what I'm doing because being a jack of all trades is really hard. It takes me a lot more time to produce music because of this. And at the time of recording this video, my fan base is still really small. So if you've got access to other mixers and producers and songwriters, use them. If I could afford to send my stuff off to be mixed and produced by other people, bitch, don't you think I would? But jokes aside, lastly, I want to answer the title of this video real quick so you're not waiting till the end of this video. No, Spotify is not killing the music industry, but it is changing it. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so first off, let's start by answering the question I get a lot. How much do independent artists make from an album or EP? Well, you probably won't like this, but it varies. Depends on where the album or EP is sold or streamed, how many songs are included on the album or EP, and how many times it's bought or streamed. So, math time. Let's say an average album of 12 songs sells on iTunes for about $10. iTunes takes 30%, so their cut would be about $3, and the remaining 7 would go to you. Yes, I know there's a few other variables in there, but let's make math easy on ourselves, shall we? Now, an EP, on the other hand, is determined by how many tracks are included on it. A typical EP is anywhere between 3 to 6 songs, and the average is 4. Now, typically on iTunes, an individual song is sold for about $1.29. So if your EP is 4 songs long and each one sells at $1.29, then your sale price is probably going to be about $5.16. So if iTunes takes its 30%, then your payout is about $3.62 for the sale of one EP. Given these figures, if you sold 100 albums and had no other royalty splits, then you could potentially walk away with about $700. If you sold 100 EPs on iTunes with no other royalty splits, you're going to walk away with about $362. Now, that's great, but that's not why you clicked on this video. What about Spotify? On average, Spotify reports that royalty payouts per stream is anywhere between 0.006 and 0.0084 cents. And if that makes your head spin, yes, that's less than a penny. So, let's say your awesome album of 12 songs is streamed just once all the way through. At most, you're only making about 10 cents. And that's a good day. If it's your 4-track EP, you're making about 3 cents. No, I know what you're thinking. Jonathan, if rates are so low, why even bother with streaming? That's a rip-off. You can't make anything there. Well, my friend, maybe not initially, but perhaps we should look at this on a broader scale. I know some of you are gonna hate me for this, but newsflash, the market is changing. Digital Music News reports that audio streams increased by 58.5% in 2017, landing in at 179.8 billion streams. 78.6% of total audio streams in 2017 were made by people with paid subscription services like Apple Music or Spotify. Clearly, streaming is quickly rising to the top of the ways people consume music. So let's look at it this way. If one of your fans streamed your 12-song album 100 times in a month, don't look at me like that. You all have a CD you replay all the time. And they did it for 12 months because it was the jam of the year. From that one fan, you'd gain about $120.96. Doesn't seem like very much to you? Well, now let's say you've got 1,000 of your super fans who love you and love your music, and they did the exact same thing. At the most, you're potentially walking away with $120,960. And yes, negative Nellies, that is before taxes and other shit. But this can create a potentially huge profit for you over time. This is also why many major label artists with gigantic social media followings are totally fine with streaming. Taylor Swift was an exception to this until recently, where she realized that a lot of her fans were asking for it. There was a demand for it, and that is key, my friends. And for somebody who's known for her songwriting, I can fully understand her initial hesitation to do it. It was kind of a statement, but her fans wanted it. This shows you that there is a demand for streaming. People want to stream your music. So here's my advice to you, whether your fan base is huge or whether it's small. Embrace streaming, especially you pop artists like me out there. The market is changing. And I know it's hard not to feel like your fans are not supporting you because they're not buying your music, but they are. You have to change your frame of mind. It's this trickle-down effect that adds up over time, even though initially it's so frustrating, unless you've got a fan base that is going out there and streaming it left and right like you're Ariana Grande. Now, when it comes to your marketing strategy, do I think you should solely focus on Spotify and streaming? Absolutely not. There are multiple other ways you can earn money as an independent artist if you're willing to think outside the box. I can do a whole nother video for that and maybe even an ebook about it some other time. But I want you to know that just because times are changing doesn't mean you should get discouraged or mad or say the music industry is dying and stamp your feet and walk away. All you really need are some dedicated fans, or if you're starting out, some dedicated family members and friends, and a little bit of patience, and then you can make some money over time. Keep trying to grow your fan base. Think of it as another tool to get your music out there for people. Then your big, awesome payout will come eventually. So those are my thoughts on whether or not Spotify is killing the music industry. Question of the video, will you be putting your next album or EP out on Spotify? Leave me a comment below letting me know. If you want to watch more videos about tips and tricks for indie artists, there's links in the description below so you can check them out. And I also want to say thank you for requesting this video. I hope I answered all your questions sufficiently. If you have more, you can always ask me in the comments. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're new. I put out new videos every single Wednesday. Once again, I'm Jonathan Miller, and I will see you next time. Mata ne!